mornings. I guess I'll start with the elephant in the room. Tuesday morning, I was greeted with notifications and messages containing the image of an email purporting to be from my DM Tails address and written to a transgender developer who is part of the TTRPG community. The message is what evil looks like. It was filled with transphobia, religious condemnation, and vulgar insults. It was written by a person who has some issue with me and was sent to an uninvolved third party in order to trigger a trauma response. And it did. I don't blame the person who received that email for reacting the way that she did. Living fear of missives like that because experience has told you they will come is something for which I do not have a frame of reference. It is something I cannot imagine living in constant fear of. Harming her, and by extension, every transgender person and ally who are her friends, who are in her circle, just to hurt me is an act so despicable, I do not have words to convey just how disgusted I am by that action. Now, that's the bad news. Here's the good news. While I did receive some nasty messages on Facebook, I was being trashed on Blue Sky for a couple of hours, and someone emailed my church to let them know what a horrible person I am. It didn't last. I made a statement on Blue Sky condemning transphobia, along with some other "you're not us" hatred, all of which are ridiculous. And folks began apologizing to me and taking down their shares of the image on social media. On Facebook, I made a more extensive statement because I had more characters to work with, to which most people responded favorably. My actual friends in the industry who reached out confirmed that I didn't send it. They offered me their kindness and their support. And folks with whom I am acquaintances, not quite friends, but they're in my circles, they saw the message, and while they were angered by the contents, which they should have been, it was disgusting, they had difficulty believing that it was me who sent it. Oh, and the person who emailed the church actually sent a second email apologizing for the first email. It was kind of cool. By that afternoon, someone had gotten a hold of the actual email. Folks, never trust screenshots for anything. Not memes, not especially if you agree with them. Don't trust it. Always go and get the source. And they used the headers of that email to confirm that it was a spoof. I also have to shout out Ron Meischker from Page for making sure someone did look at the email headers, because that was huge in diffusing any lingering doubt in folks' minds. Yesterday, I got to see the ugly side of the internet as a malignant narcissist attempted to burn my metaphorical house down using vulnerable people as fuel. I don't have words. I was also privileged to see what I long for. People being brought back from an anger spawned through manipulation, often augmented by a platform's ruling algorithm, so they could reveal this wonderful glimpse of the best the internet can be. It can be a web where actual connections create spaces for real kindness and empathy to take root and grow. I'm going to keep striving for that. I planned the adventure for this week's Tales of Argosa campaign on the Books tablet I just picked up, written by hand, including the map. Now, I am populating the map by typing in the notes into Scabbard so I can drag them onto the VTT easier, and I'll use Dungeon Alchemist to create the map for the players to explore in the VTT. But the rest, all handwritten. Actually, I have to switch hands. I'm left-handed. All handwritten. It is a much different experience, and I enjoyed it. Writing event or encounter tables by hand, it hits my brain different. Now this week it'll enter into my workflow for my pastoral work, and I'm interested to see how it does there. I did use it for my notes and manuscript last week, and it excelled at that. It's so much easier on my eyes. Really, really cool. I can't wait to actually show it off a little bit. My chat with John Hambone McGuire this week was phenomenal. The man has such a strong desire to offer hospitality to others, and that came out in our chat again and again. But what's cool is that he also doesn't refuse hospitality when it's offered to him, and I don't think a lot of people understand how rare a gift that is. He has got great ideas, and you can back 2 of them on Backerkit right now. It's open until May 22nd. I managed to run my Tales of Argosa campaign this week, even though I never got to finish the intended crawl because of, things happening. We spent most of the time in a dwarven city ripe with latent xenophobia, which I tried to convey as my players went about shopping. Why shopping? Always shopping. The barbarian, actually, who lost a foot, wanted better armor, which makes sense, and that was an interesting prospect in a dwarven city which had very little trade with the outside world, and he's a 6-foot-tall barbarian. Also, I do have to say, my players are really trusting. Really trusting. Gonna have to see what I can do with that. I don't have much to say about the world this week, and that's not because stupidity isn't happening. It's because the Orange Man set up a giant golden statue of himself on his private club, and my brain kind of exploded. Now, look, the Orange can do this. I've got no problem with that. It is his club. He can do what he wants with it. What exploded my brain was the fact that this giant golden statue toy wannabe king got put up like a mini snippet right out of the book of Daniel's fiery furnace story, and there were Christians there blessing the damned thing, and I'm using that word deliberately. Oh, it's not an idol, is the defense that's been offered, but really? It's a statue put up by a guy so desperate to be adored he has to put his name on anything he touches, including U.S. passports, just... ugh. And he craves adulation and demands unwavering loyalty from his subjects, which is not reciprocated. It's an idol to a ruler. Pastors worshipped it while trying to sync it up with their stated faith. And, in my annual read-through of the Bible, I just finished reading Jeremiah. There's a lot of warnings about this type of thing in that book. Now, look, for the love of all that is good, I know there are people out there who are probably flooding the one pastor's inbox with messages of condemnation. You're such a terrible person. I've gotten some of those. Please don't do that. It is not helpful. It accomplishes nothing. All I'm asking is for people, especially folks who are co-religionists with me, to recognize what that thing is and say, thanks, I'm out on this one. During the kerfuffle yesterday, I traveled out to the BOOKSMILES warehouse with my church treasurer and dropped off their portion of the proceeds, a check for over $5,500. BOOKSMILES founder Larry Abrams and the BOOKSMILES team were amazing when we showed up, and it reminded me why this is an organization I am happy to support. And for cynics out there who say that nonprofits just want to suck as much money from people as possible, here's some counter evidence. The team at BOOKSMILES knows that I've split the proceeds 75-25 with them over the last 2 years. I do that because I'm always concerned that people think churches just want to suck money from them, and we've kind of earned that reputation. While we were talking, I was asked, and this is a paraphrase, and next year there's going to be a more even split, right? If you're anywhere near South Jersey, I cannot recommend supporting this organization enough. And if you're not, there's a motto which may be ripe for emulating. Let's help kids get reading. It expands empathy, it trains our minds to pick up inferences, and it broadens our imagination. All these things are great. I'm writing my review of Coriolis the Great Dark. I've got 4 sections to get through still, and it's already 2,800 words. It's going to be trimmed down when I begin editing, but this is going to be a long one. Somewhere in my schedule, I need to start my Orshan incident conversion for Cypher. This means getting through the new character setup thoroughly so I can implement my custom species correctly, grabbing the text from the ICRPG version so I can rejigger it for Cypher, and redesigning the adversaries to fit the new framework, which is actually the easiest bet, I gotta say. Now, because of how my brain works, that means I need to read all the materials that have been released so far. So I'm asking for a favor. Keep poking me on doing that, because shiny objects get my attention and then poof, that's a technical term, the day is gone. I'm also doing my day job, so there's that, but I need to get this done. I want to get this done. Poke, poke, poke. Keep poking, just keep poking, please. I don't know if I'm going to keep that in. One of my players has now played in several systems I have never played. I love it when my players explore the hobby beyond what I get to offer them. It is amazing. I'm going to bookend these thoughts with an inclusio, so technically I guess they're not random this week. During the short-lived firestorm, a couple of my friends in the industry, and I'm literally talking 1 or 2 people, there's no huge flood of this sentiment, they said something to the effect of, I hope this doesn't discourage you and you keep making videos. That's not a quote. It's my paraphrase of a back and forth in chat with a couple of people, like one or two. I do have to say it hadn't occurred to me to stop the channel. Now, part of that is because I'm a social idiot who doesn't even notice a lot of the noise. I'm going to admit that. It doesn't register for me. But another part of it is this. This is how I minister to people. That gets people confused sometimes and can probably make people feel a little bit scared, but let me explain. This is not, nor will it ever be, a place of bait and switch evangelism. I am not selling a product I want to push on anyone. I loathe that form of religious practice, and it is one reason why I do not want to be known as the Christian YouTuber. No, this is about the games, but I have to be who I am. So what I mean is this. In a system which is filled with anxiety, anger, hatred, and despair, by design, I might add, I get to offer just a little bit of care for folks who find their way here. I try to communicate honestly, I strive to interact with kindness, and I attempt to speak a bit of reality into the maelstrom of obfuscation and lies so people might know they aren't alone in seeing what they're seeing. And I hope anyone who finds their way here, who comes open to receive refuge and not to plant a flag where they can rule, experiences that care. This isn't a church. I'm not your pastor, but I am the host here, and I take that seriously. Like I said, I'm well into my review of Coriolis the Great Dark, so expect that soon, I hope. After that will come Al Spader's Redacted and a slew of other books which are waiting with growing impatience. They're kind of scary when they're like this, to be honest. They're looking at me. I've also got an interview with Scott Plaskett, who's behind an interesting game called Trinamic. I met him first at GameholeCon. We'll get into the story behind that, and that'll happen next Monday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern. Until we see each other again, folks, happy playing, everyone.